right, we're back with the Stars, episode 2. Welcome back to Benny Gibson. Good to have you back. We found out last episode that your nickname is Rowdy, which I'm still yet to work out how and why after the initial episode.
I don't necessarily want it to stick, but that's generally when it does. So I think it was just Roscoe, team manager, decided I wasn't piping up too much in general chat, so that's how it came.
Well, he's spot on. He's absolutely spot on because you didn't give us much last time. But we've got someone who's going to give us plenty this time, Ben, and someone who's played a lot of international cricket. He played a little bit for the Stars. He's part of the inaugural team. He's won a Big Bash title, which is a bit weird for us. Hat-trick in Australian colours. An amazing effort, an amazing bloke in his own right. Now the T20 High Performance Manager, which seems like a bit of a... to me, that title. But we'll try and discuss that a little bit further. Clint McKay, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having us. And just letting you know that, Rowdy, there was big old Roscoe Barrett, the team manager of the Melbourne Stars, been around for a long time, and gave Rowdy his nickname because there wasn't too many words those first few days. So
I was just getting an understanding of the dynamics of the group. So
we spoke about in the previous podcast, Clint, that the difference between footy and cricket is quite often there's time away. You're away a lot and you're away for a period of time as well, which I said I'm hopefully Ben is getting a little bit used to, but obviously there's some stories that are happening and instances that are going on right now that are really opening your eyes to cricket.
No, it's a great experience. It's a slightly different dynamic to footy, but loving the time with the WBBL so far, and it helps when they're winning on the road as well.
Well, speaking about the WBBL and your role in general, Clint, we'll go a little bit serious at the start before we get you smiling a little bit more. Talk to me about this role, because my understanding is it was a role that was created probably about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. What does it entail?
that's a great question, Rob. I think different things come up.
Still trying to find out.
It keeps evolving all the time, and every time you think you've sort of might have worked it out, then something else pops up. So, no, it did. It got created probably about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, just more around the fact that obviously the success in T20 cricket in Victoria across both Renegades and the Stars haven't probably been as successful as sort of Cricket Victoria would have hoped. So
that's in the men's and women's programs,
and women's, yeah. Yep. And obviously we know that the Renegades went out last year, but this job was created a bit before that. So it's just more about how we can actually start to fast track some more T20 development. We know Cricket Victoria have got some amazing talent throughout sort of all different age groups, male and female. So how we actually can start to prioritise that, and how we can actually start getting more sort of local talent in both men's and women's Big Bash teams, and create a successful environment for a long period to come.
I fell asleep halfway through that, but that's all right. It was a very straight bad answer, but you're spot on. It's good that they're dedicating some time, particularly and we'll touch on how you felt crossing the fence when you went from Stars to Thunder. But take us back to, I guess, the first year, the inaugural year, and we asked Huss the same question: why'd you pick the Stars over the Renegades or any other team for that matter?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. As you've no doubt you have a few of them, but I think I more got bullied into going to the Stars than anything else. Obviously, we had Greg Shippett as the coach, being a Victorian player back in those days, and I don't really get the option, but basically it sort of worked out if you're going to go to the MCG or you're going to go to what's now called Marlborough Stadium. So for us, I think it was a bit of a simple sort of answer, really. Like a lot of guys I was really close with was going green, and the opportunity to play Big Bash cricket or T20 cricket, which is a new franchise coming in, the MCG, for me it was a bit of a no-brainer. I think the more you can play at the MCG, being from Victoria, it's something you're never really going to say no to.
You played a fair bit in that first season, but you only stuck around for 2 seasons, is that right?
No, I was there for 4, Bob. So
4? There you go.
That was good. But I sort of played.
No, you're right. I've got that down here. I didn't look at it. 4 seasons, 23 matches.
Yeah, I didn't play a little bit the last sort of season, but yeah, it was great. I love my time. As you know, we've had a lot of great mates and a lot of friends that are going to stick for life, and some great memories in some of those earlier times when sort of the big wigs are around, but also too the way it was set up with Eddie Maguire and John Weil and these sort of guys running the board. It was a really good time, and unfortunately didn't have the great success of winning a title that we would have liked, but we're very successful for the majority of the time. So it was great timing.
Now, I've just written down, I've had to go back to my notes from Huss's podcast. He describes you as the all-time great human being, and you're very funny and very witty. Would you agree with those statements?
No, probably not. But also Huss's track record sometimes stretches the truth a little bit and probably isn't as honest as he can be at certain times. But I didn't really want to throw him under the bus there. But no, thanks,
Well,
Huss.
he's happy to throw you under the bus, no doubt.
Yeah, he definitely is, and that's probably our relationship we've had for 15 years, which is great. It's why we all love Huss in some respect too.
He mentioned something throughout your time, and he said obviously we were successful as a team in that first 4-year period. You didn't play as much in that last season, but he mentioned something I completely forgot. Is that season when you were not playing in the Stars side as regularly, you were actually in the international Aussie T20 team, weren't you?
Yeah, I played a few games at that particular time, so it was an interesting. We used to joke all the time.
How does that happen?
Well, I'm not sure. You have to ask the powers to be that particular time, and it is what it is. So there's no point. I don't hold any regrets or hold everyone over that. But yeah, it was an interesting time when you're closer to playing for Australia than you were playing for your domestic team. So it was a bit of a frustrating time for that. I'm trying to work that out, but that is what it is. We had a great team. I think you look at the record back in those days that I think we sort of finished top 2 most of those seasons, and just more that when the finals come around, and there was a lot of international duties in white ball cricket, and we probably didn't have the same team on the park as we had throughout the year. So those were the days. Those things happen, and you move on. And I only had fond memories of playing cricket with the Melbourne Stars.
Talk to me about some enjoyable times at the Stars, and it doesn't necessarily, I took 4 for here or hit a 6 here. Like, obviously you were super close with Johnny Hastings. Like, any memories through the first 3 or 4 years that you go, how good was that?
I think there's too many. I think it was just a great time. I think the way the Stars were set up and what the Big Bash was about, obviously it's changed over the years, but I think it was very serious, the cricket, but it was plenty of time off field to actually enjoy yourselves and creating the Melbourne Stars brand. And part of that was to bring the Stars into play and enjoying what you do on and off the field, obviously in a respectful manner and whatever else. But some of the parties that we used to have and like the season launches into Warney being involved and him turning into Club 23 into our sort of our after-match functions with roped off areas, and he decided he wanted to play some poker, so he started bringing some poker machines in, and there's blackjack tables, and all of a sudden it's like, where do you say, I'm just a young kid from Bundoora out here in the northern suburbs, and the next minute we're hanging around with Shane Water Club 23 and an after-match of an MCG, we've had 45,000 fans watching us. So there's plenty of great moments, and I think the Stars were set up for that way, and I think everyone you asked to play in that era, I don't think they would find a better time anywhere.
No, Warney's theory was like he wanted to win, right? But he wanted to have a bloody good time. Like, that was probably his mantra. They'd probably put, because he's so competitive, winning would only just supersede having a good time, right? And I remember a time, it might have been just after Warney had finished, but where we might have missed the bus, you, myself, and Hasto in Sydney. I've got a picture here because I remember Cam White was captain, so maybe Warney wasn't there, and the bus had left. We had our Stars tops on. And so if you don't remember this, then that's great. Because one thing I do remember about Clint Gibbo is that his ability to shrug off stuff, like whether we lost or won, he was probably one of the most consistent guys within the squad, backing up what Huss had said about him, and would always go for a beer. Like, I think we share that passion of having a beer post-game. And I think this time just got a bit big on us. And it was, we got back to the airport. It was fine. Whitey had the shits with us, but it doesn't take much for Whitey to get the shits. And we got there. So I'm keen to hear about your time with Hasto. Like, I know I've just asked you, you said there's many, but what about your relationship just in general? Like, did you feed off each other on the field as well as off the field and that sort of jazz?
Yeah, I think we're the best for each other, but also certain times we're the worst for each other, because I think we both love the contest and getting out in the field, and we actually spoke a lot of cricket, but also too, we love to have a beer together. And there's one thing that anyone here that knows Johnny Hastings, he's probably the best drinker you've ever seen in your life. So it is what it was, and Hasto was excellent. Like, we had some great conversations. We learned so much off each other from the cricket lens, but also to enjoy our time off the field. But a lot of that time was around chatting cricket as well. So which I think where you learn so much over having a beer and just actually talking shop and what it actually looks like. And you come up with some radical theories, and Hasto did at certain times, but it was great fun.
And how much thought actually goes into 2020 cricket from the start of the Big Bash? So early days, it was kind of framed as this fun competition where obviously you're going to have a good time, but it's also competitive athletes going at it. Was there a lot of, processes and strategy?
Yeah, probably just sort of came into, so that sort of area was just sort of starting off, but definitely it's changed now when you sort of walked in back in those days and you had the bowling coach, I think it was Damien Wright was the first one, and Greg Shipper that scribbled 3 different notes on the whiteboard of each different play, and you walked in and they sort of went through that, and that was your bowlers meeting done. It's like there was no talk about how do you defend yourself or that sort of stuff. And now you go in now, and I'm just going through a 33-page document of the batters from Hobart Hurricanes and the different sort of areas you can actually go to and whatever else. So the game's definitely changed, but I think the will to win hasn't. It's always the same back then. Every time we crossed the line, everyone wanted to win. As you were saying before, Warney was one of the most competitive people going around. And we try to win every time we actually played. It's just that the data and analytics and that sort of stuff's taken over. That's how that sort of landscape's changed.
Well, Warney was the data. He was the machine, wasn't he? He was actually so strategic in the way he thought. But I couldn't imagine him with a 33-page document coming out at the Stars. I think there was times where Shippy put so much stuff on the whiteboard and Warney's gone, you need to summarise that, mate. That's way too much. The last bit on sort of like the outside, this is a really serious question. Do you still go to Pie Face after a couple of beers?
Pie Face, that's good, Bob. No, I haven't been to Pie Face for a long time. I know you used to love that. You used to have your chicken curry or something, wasn't it?
Pie, yeah, I'd go a random flavoured pie, but it was Pie Face or Burger King or Hungry Jack's would always be the go-to. But on a serious note, so you're there for 4 seasons, not 2. At the Stars, and then the decision came to jump the fence, as I said, to the Thunder. Was it a hard decision, or was it a decision that you knew was right and you just had to make it?
I knew it had to make it. Again, you don't want to leave Victoria. You didn't want to leave the Stars. You didn't want to leave the MCG. And you didn't want to leave your mates. But reality was I wasn't getting the opportunities to play, as we touched on before. And for me, I needed a fresh start. I was sort of to feel a little bit stale. And for me, I thought I had too much to give to be sitting on the sidelines.
Well, you're still being touted from an Australian perspective at that stage, weren't you?
Yeah, and definitely. And probably wasn't as much as the T20 space. I was still playing one-day cricket for Australia. It was sort of coming towards the end, but yeah, I was still thereabouts. So for me, it's like I just wanted to play some cricket. And again, we play cricket to play, not to sit on the sideline. So the opportunity came up, and the Stars were excellent. So I still had 1 year to run the contract, and Clint Cooper, the GM at the time, knew the situation. He was excellent. Basically released me from that to go chase an opportunity, and got to the Sydney Thunder. And for me, it was fantastic. It wasn't necessarily about getting away from the Stars. It's more creating a new opportunity and understanding what different organisations, how they go about their business. And especially I knew from a younger age, I think a coaching sort of landscape after the playing days was something I wanted to do. So to get the opportunity to play under a different organisation, different captain, different coach, when basically all I knew was Greg Shippard and Cameron White, and then some Aussie stuff, that it was good to actually understand there's a different way to go about things and how you actually can do your own stuff within your own personality, and then start to move forward in that direction. And thank
who was the captain and coach for the Thunder then?
Mike Hussey was the captain.
Yep.
And the coach was Paddy
Upton.
Yeah, which is great. So he was excellent. He does things completely different way. And again, with that group, he was outstanding. But probably as we moved on, we got a bit more inexperienced group, but probably the dynamics changed a little bit. It was a little bit different. But my experiences from there sort of shaped the way I go about my coaching and what we sort of want to do with the Melbourne Stars now.
And from a lifestyle perspective, the move up to Sydney, is that 2
Was
months
there
in
a
a
pie face
hotel?
up there?
Is that 2 months in a hotel? Like how does the living arrangement work?
Yeah, we're in the hotel. So we used to move up sort of the start of December, and it was great. We're in Central Station, probably not the best part of Sydney you want to be, but the hotel was fine, and we knew that it was better than what it had been in previous years at Sydney Thunder. So they started to turn that around. They looked after players reasonably well, but for me, it was all about opportunity. I just want to start playing some more cricket. Like the Big Bash is what every sort of domestic player wanted to play in those days, and still now. So for me to get opportunity to actually get back and playing, I didn't care. They could have put me anywhere. It didn't actually matter. And it was great. I sort of met my wife now at the time as well. So she came up majority of the time as well, which was good. So it was just a nice little change up getting out of Melbourne and seeing how things work from a different way and different lens. And it's probably the greatest learning curve I've actually had moving forward.
I'm just looking through the match report of the Melbourne Stars versus the Sydney Thunder grand final because...
you can't go well every game, Bob.
No, we can't, and especially when there are additional elements going against us as well, Benny.
Talk us through it.
Khawaja had survived 2 loud LBW shouts either side of lifting Zampa over down the ground for 6, but fell to David Hussey all too late. So, look, I don't know who was umpiring. Maybe Simon Fry from that end. Have you had a chance to really look at a couple of those LBs? Clint, and let us know if you were the bowling coach of the Melbourne Stars that night, will you be infuriated that one of those weren't given?
No, not really. Umpires makes the final decision, Bob, isn't it? And there's no DRS back then.
Shit.
So what can you actually do? At the end of the day, the Stars at that particular night got beaten by a better team. and I've got the medallion at home to show you if you like.
Sorry, I switched off again halfway through. Sorry.
You don't hold a grudge
It's
at
got
all.
BBL.
No.
It's got BBL 5 written on it. But,
And a title, yeah. We got to the stage, Benny, where Seaman Fleming was awesome, and we were making songs throughout the Stars, and one of them I think that Flem had made was based around Simon Fry and Kawaja being not given out, and I wish I could remember the words. I'm not sure if Andy Lee helped out as well, but it was hilarious. So no, we've let it go and we've moved on
Clearly.
a fair bit.
I
But
don't think they actually did, because I think the next week, obviously, I had to come back to the Victorian camp and do some training. And Mickey Lewis was the bowling coach by that stage, and the bowling coach at Stars as well. So I thought I'd be a bit of a smart ass and walk in my medallion, being Fawad Ahmed. So I thought that would be a great thing, just to lighten the mood up a little bit and see. I was probably still coming down from being hungover. But
and pie face.
walked in with my medallion, and basically Mickey Lewis told me, and I'll keep the expletives out of this for the viewers at home, but basically get that off your neck, or I'm going to rip your effing neck off. So all right, better put that away. We went from there, but I don't think Mickey ever let go of that particular moment either, unfortunately. And I love Mickey, but probably it's time that the Thunder won that and we get over the Simon Fry stuff and the Uzi Kawaja, and we look at a medallion again at some stage.
Love it. And
Hopefully get a Stars one this year.
We mentioned to Huss about the Stars and now the last cab off the rank who hasn't won a title yet in the men's and women's as well. So women's are travelling nicely at the moment, and without putting the Mozzer on them, the direction they're heading now is fantastic. The men are still obviously an unknown commodity, but could still surprise a few people and get up there. So that's still there and thereabouts. What I want to sort of go back to just randomly is I've spoken to a few people over my time, and I'm not known for being a cricketer at all. I'm known for, well, a little bit. One's the best Test 9 ever made, and the other one is recouping a seagull. Now, a lot of emphasis has gone on my role in that incident. A lot of people forget that you were the person who bowled, was it the out of the back of the hand slower ball? And can you let me know what your version of events were that time?
Well, to be honest, no. I don't want to disrespect the seagull at all, but I was actually having the ball stopped and didn't go for 4 because I don't think it was a great night at that particular time. So when I got over that fact and realised the seagull was actually in a little bit of trouble, and then you start to think about, oh no, what's happened here? This is quite what we're after. But obviously, Dr. Bob over here to the saviour and resuscitated the seagull and got it back to life, and now it's sort of, the legend sort of grows as the year goes on, the MCG, and we see those seagulls quite a bit. It's never happened again, but no, it was probably a bit thankful to start with, and then thankful for Bob to actually...
Do you know what I'd love to do? If there's an opportunity to get you, me, Adam Voges and Maxi Klinger, who were batting at the time, just to chat 5 minutes. It could be just the worst chat ever, or it could be something that's slightly humorous. I think we need to try and sort this out at some stage.
Absolutely. You've really kind of been known for that ever since, haven't you?
You tell me. I don't know what I don't look in the mirror and go, "G'day, seagull man."
I'm pretty sure they brought out a mascot.
Yeah.
That.
So the Stephen Seagull is to Huss on the previous podcast spoke about royalties for the Mariah Carey music, the Christmas song that I did with the Star stuff, but also the seagull. And then whether I don't even think that the seagull makes any money, but if they do, I'm not seeing a cent of it at the moment.
What people don't actually realise is sometimes Bobby jumps into that seagull suit and walks around the MCG. He's sometimes there for commentary and sometimes gets in as well. So next time, if you want to start throwing some stuff at him,
just go for it, because I tell you, there are days after Christmas where I need to shed a couple of kilos, and it's better than a sauna. You can get in there on a 30-degree day and you sweat your backside off. Mate, let's move to your current role. It's not just the high performance manager. You're bowling coach for both teams as well, aren't you?
Yep.
Essentially.
Yep. No, essentially. Yep, that's the case.
Yeah, that's actual. Yeah. Well, you've probably got, is your email footer got 3 different titles on it? Do you even know how to use an email?
No, I don't actually, but apparently I kept getting wound up all the time that I've got a few different hats going on because there's that much going on. So, but one of them is bowling coach. Yes, Bob.
How are you going with your coaching? Because you've done an amazing amount of work with the women. You've been Stars bowling coach for a while. You've had stints with the Aussie team as well, part-time. Like, talk us through how that happens.
Yeah, I don't really know how it happened. It's Andrew McDonald got in contact out of the blue one stage, and it's something that you're never going to pass up. And it's something that I've got a big passion for the coaching at the moment in the sort of bowling space. And obviously that's sort of links into what I did as a cricketer. So for me, it's all about helping the young next generation along their journey. Like, I know how much fun I had, and you know how much fun it is actually playing professional cricket and sort of chasing your dreams and seeing how good you can actually be. So for me, it's actually how much can I help that next generation coming through to follow their dreams and the same experiences I had. And that's what makes coaching tick, I think, for me. And it's something I continue to look forward to.
I've noticed every game in the WBBL, you toss the ball up and down and you get the choice of which ball you want to use. And I mean, there's a box of brand new balls, and I guess the standard person would probably think they're all pretty similar. What are you looking for when you're tossing it in your hand up and down?
Well, I didn't do that last
Great
game.
question.
We didn't bowl very well. So maybe I'm just trying to sell a story to the girls that this ball's actually better than the other ones. The reality is, are they? We don't actually know. No, for me, though, it's just probably more trying to, and again, it might not be right, but we're trying to find a nice balanced ball. We've got some really good swing bowlers in our group. So if we can get the ball really balanced and spinning really nicely, it's more likely to shift in the air. And if the ball shifts in the air, as you know, Bobby, it's a lot harder to bat against. So that's all I'm looking for there.
Did that all make sense to you, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, I actually heard him talking about it the other day. And I mean, I was never a bowler, but it adds up.
Say things with confidence, Bob, and people believe it.
You're a good salesman. So, speaking of being a good salesman, you've obviously got to, I guess, sell your skill and craft to both the male bowlers and the female bowlers. Is there much difference in terms of your approach with the two cohorts?
Certain things, yes. Obviously, the information stuff you're sharing is very similar. Like, obviously, we talk about how to defend ourselves quite a bit. So, we know in T20 cricket, when you're getting wickets and things going well, it's a pretty easy job to run in and bowl a cricket ball. But for me, it's when you're under pressure, how can you start to defend yourself, control the tempo of the game? So, what we talk about is quite similar. It's probably more the language we actually use is a little bit different between the male and female. And that's just trying to get that balance right. And that's different between person to person as well. Like, obviously, the conversation I'll have someone with the Kimmy Garth compared to a Marizanne Cap to an Annabelle Sutherland, it's always going to be a little bit different. So it's just trying to connect as a person, first and foremost, and understand what makes them tick. And then you actually work out how you actually can start to... It's not about selling the story. It's just providing some information for them to actually do what they choose with it. And hopefully you're giving them enough resource and enough opportunity for them to progress their career and start to think for themselves. But it's more about just helping them when they're under pressure, they're out there on their own, they've got something to go back to.
I'm thinking of someone like Kim Garth, and she's an amazing bowler. Obviously plays for Australia, but I've seen you work with her in the nets, and she would have an international bowling coach, a state bowling coach, and a Big Bash bowling coach. How do they all line up together to make sure there's a consistent message, or does that happen?
Yeah, it's incredible. When you think about it now, like there's so many people play for so many teams, and you throw in, I don't think she went this year, but the year before went to the 100, went to the women's IPL.
Yeah.
So before you know it, she's got 5, 6, 7 bowling coaches around.
Have you asked her like how she feels about that at all?
No, not really. It's for us. I know it works. Our relationship works, and what we actually need for that. So when she comes to our space, we're not talking about so much sort of long-term sort of stuff. It's more about what we're doing right now, how we're getting your action to where you want to be. And know we've worked for a few years now, so we've got a great understanding of what that actually looks like. And then we start talking about more tactical sort of stuff and the here and the now and what it looks like coming up and who we're actually coming up against, so who she can be the most successful person she can.
What kind of environment the current players in both the men's and women's sphere like running with at the moment? You know, we joked just recently about, you know, the social element, a few beers here and there, and Huss was speaking quite a bit about the banter. He spoke about how you went, was it 2 overs, none for 30 in a game that we lost to we won against the Scorchers. It was rain affected. Warney got us out there how he got us out there, I don't know, but we had to face one more over, make it a game. I think they only made 60. Malinga took wickets, but you went for 30. Huss said it, so you could have gone for 10.
No, I did go for, I think it was a bit more than 30. So basically, Malinga got 6 for 7. Game was sort of already done, like going to bowl and got absolutely belted everywhere. So obviously, Warney wasn't that impressed. Then probably rubbed salt in the wounds that Andy Lee, who thinks he's a funny man, decided to come and do a bit of a comedy act in the change rooms before the next game. And the whole spiel was about how good we were, but how could have been if it wasn't for me going for 30 my 2 overs. So that was a great prep. So we talk about prep into games, but everyone got a laugh out of it, and everyone was up and about. And I think we went on and did really well in the next game. So that's part of T20 career. It's about being able to have a laugh, and you know that things aren't always going to go to plan. Things aren't always going to be perfect, but if you can actually get as a collective, then you're actually going to be in good spirits. So I think back in those sort of days, if they were taking the piss out of me a little bit, leaving someone else alone that probably didn't want to be taking the piss out of.
How involved was Andy Lee in those early years?
Oh, I thought he was one of our players, wasn't he? I think he was on the payroll, probably through the salary cap. No, he was excellent. Basically, wherever we were, he was, and he was bowling the nets. I think the only thing he didn't do was get in the nets and face the Malinga at certain times. I think he's a bit scared about that.
Did you?
But no chance. I got paid to do it. But no, he was excellent for that group at that particular time. That's what I said. The way, probably the resources we had back in those days and the budgets and whatever else were a little bit different to what they are now. But it was more about the entertainment side of it. Whereas now it's probably getting more into the cricket winning side with the entertainment and a bit more to the other side.
You mentioned people getting paid. How much extra is Maxi getting paid right now as the specialist fielding coach for the Melbourne Stars women's team?
I'd like to sit here and tell you a lot, but one thing we know with Maxi, he does most things for free. So he's not doing anything that's for him. It's actually to give back to the Melbourne Stars, especially the females. We want to try and create some links between the male and female program, and what better person to do that than Maxi? So
is he travelling with you?
Not travelling. He's just got too many commitments, but he came to Sydney during Spring Challenge. He was there for the whole time. So he's been fantastic. The girls absolutely love him, but I can assure you that's all off his own bat, and it's him about some coach development sort of stuff, as well as actually giving back to the Melbourne Stars, which he's always first to do.
Yeah, and no doubt he's just telling the girls to hit the ball as hard as they can. Is that his message? Or does he stay out of the batting lane and just stay in the fielding lane?
Well, it's an interesting one because he was going to adjust to the fielding. The next minute he's into everything. But no, he's been great. As we know, Max, he gets to be bored in one aspect. But no, he's been fantastic. He's basically taken over a lot of the fielding stuff with Jess Duffin, and both of them have worked really well together. So for him, it's just talking about experiences and how you can start to move your body and how you start to track balls and how can we be more aggressive in the fielding space. So I think you've sort of seen that we've taken some amazing catches, and that's a lot of it for his great work and what he's doing behind the scenes with the girls. So I can't thank him enough for what he's doing. Put
these, and I'm going to miss a couple of names out, and I'm sorry who I miss out. Put these in order of favourite player to least favourite player. Reece McKenna, Marizanne Kapp, Belle Sutherland, and Kim Garth.
I'm not answering this question.
Why not?
Because I cop grief for this every single day because apparently got favourites. So Kim Garth thinks that Cappy's my favourite. Reece McKenna thinks that Kim's my favourite. I think Bellsy thinks that the rest of them are my favourites.
So did she feel a bit left out from the big fella?
I think so. I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure. But no, they're all great. I don't have any favourites. It's a bit like asking who's your favourite kid.
I think you're Cappy's favourite. You get her to smile more than anyone.
Cappy smiles a lot more than she gets credit for. And I think Kimmy Garth actually makes her smile quite a bit. As much as Kimmy doesn't think she does.
So who's within that, let's say that quartet, or someone even outside that you would sit there and go, oh, like they love, they can't sit still, or they can't let the group be quiet, or the person that you might have had a horrendous game and you come off the ground and they're that person who speaks first and goes, oh, how bad were we, just to break the ice? Is it one of those four?
No, I don't think so. I think a couple of them actually more look at me and I get the blame for it, especially Kimmy. I bowl a pile of shit when it's something else my fault. So I didn't get in front and bowl the ball.
You told me to do that.
So that's probably an interesting one. Probably out of those four, you talk the ones that can't sit still. It's probably going away from the cricket aspect of it a little bit. I first got involved with the women's space, I'm going to say about 5 years ago, and it was a young girl, Reece McKenna, which I had no idea who it was, working on Jared Lofton. He goes, can you come and do some bowling coaching? Need some help? No worries. Our first experience, we had a sort of pre-season camp to Lawn. And he goes, right, you're driving the minibus. Yep, no dramas at all, and you've got 3 players. The only player I can remember on that bus was Reece McKenna, because all she did, we got in the bus, she goes, I'm hungry. I said, okay, what do you want us to do? Well, can we stop at Macca's in the drive-through? Not really sure we're going to do that because I don't think the fitness staff will quite be happy. But do you know what? Once we get out onto Geelong Highway and whatever else, we'll stop. There's a little subway there or whatever else. Yep, that'll do. So anyway, for the next 45 minutes until we got to Subway, she had a gridiron ball and threw it against the wall, just hearing bang, 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 bang. I'm like, can you, 16-year-old kid, I can't swear. I can't. So here I am, first day on the job, just being really quiet. So we got to Subway. Anyway, 5 minutes of respite, no banging the ball against the door. So, okay, she's going to eat now. Hopefully this drags on. Maybe go a little bit quicker. We get to Lawn and maybe she go to sleep. She scoffed the Subway down about 35 seconds, and then for the next hour and a half, the gridiron ball and the soccer ball, bang, bang, bang. It's like in the end, it's like, Reece, can you please stop shop? I can't, I'm bored. So it's not sitting still and driving everyone mad. It's probably Reece McKenna comes first in
Love
mind
it.
With that.
Well, if Reece actually listens to this, I hope she just keeps going as hard as she can at you and making your life just even tougher than it is already. Where to next, I guess, from your coaching perspective? Have you got sort of ambitions and goals to try and be full-time with the Australian? Are you happy where things are at the moment?
Yeah, it's an interesting one and something to sort of speak about all the time. I'm very happy at the moment. I think eventually at some stage we'll do some head coaching stuff. What that looks like, where that looks like, who knows? But for the time being, I'm very happy what I'm actually doing. And I think it's a great opportunity to get a good balance between some sort of admin side of stuff, but also to get your coaching fix as well. And I think we're very excited about the groups we're actually putting together. And I know you touched before about the Big Bash, and we're not quite sure where we're going to actually, how we're going to go. For me, we won 5 on the trot last year, and we know when we get it right, we're as good as anyone in the competition. So I'm very sort of excited about what we can do as a Big Bash group this year. And we throw in the acquisition of a Harris Ralph as well. And Tom Curran's come out early. He's going to be fit, ready to go and flying. And obviously Joe Clark's won some play the tournaments with us already. So I think we've got a really good balance of sort of overseas and mixed in with some really good senior heads in the local space. So I think there's no reason why we can't finally break that drought of a title in both the BBL and the WBBL we're going through at the moment.
Have you worked with Harris Ralph previously?
Yeah, lots of times. And he's great, and guy from the days where probably the language barrier was a little bit not quite there. So me and Maxie drawing diagrams and talking about the top of the stumps to now that he very much comes in and tells us what he's doing. So he's fantastic, and the skill he brings to the table and the ball speed he actually brings, it's probably something we're lacking a bit last year. So can't wait to get out the MCG again and for him to showcase his skills.
And another bowler you'll have to work with is Peter Siddle, who's 40, only a couple of years younger than you and still
ageist,
playing. It's just an incredible effort, really.
It's amazing though, because back in the day we were quite tight. He was probably the other one as well with Hastos. We sort of hung out quite a bit. We actually even thought about moving in together at one stage, and now I'm sort of coaching him, signing his contracts, and he's still running around playing. So
Incredible effort.
Probably goes to say that I probably ended up in the pub and he did his training, going into the bikes and his fitness, and that's why I'm behind the computer and he's still out running around playing. So, but he's been fantastic in what he's actually done. So can't wait to see him out in the MCG again where he belongs.
You spoke about international players, obviously specifically with Harris Ralph, but do you think there'll be a day, and I know there's a lot of talk about the franchises being bought out, Indian players? I know Himanpreet Kaur, is that how you pronounce it?
Himanpreet Kaur, yeah.
That's one. She's come out, but no. Ashwin was about to come out as well for the Thunder, but when's it going to happen? Like, because IPL is always going to be the biggest and the best, right? But for us to, and it's not just like showcase bums on seats, eyes on TV. It's playing with the best, isn't it? And over conditions. We've seen the Ashes tests, the different conditions, right? And different people thrive in that. Like, when are we going to see Indian players come over in the male side?
Oh, hopefully sooner the better, because obviously they're world-class players and some of the best in the world, and I'd love to see them in our Big Bash cricket. And imagine that for Cricket Australia and the Australian public, which is great. So we've seen in the women's space, so a lot of the girls, the big girls, have been over and played WBBL. There's not as many this year, but in the past there's been Jemmy Rodriguez is this year as well, and we had Deepti Sharma last year. We had Yasika Bhatia. Barmer's been over, so there's been a lot of.
They just won the World Cup as well.
They just won the World Cup as well. So at the moment, they're the best in the world in one-day cricket. So it's great to get them over here, and it's also too for our younger girls to working with them and going about their journey and how they actually do things, and we can improve how they can improve their own cricket through that. So yeah, would love to see the Indians at the moment, but obviously it's not to be. No doubt, Cricket Australia continue to work behind the scenes, and hopefully in the near future that we see that in fruition.
All the media, my mind's ticking away as you speak. I've got a list of questions, and I'm not going to ask them because I think we're nearly done. But I listened to the media and everything, all the hype over the first test. Talk to me your opinion, and you don't necessarily have to like tee off or just. I know you're such a leveled and knowledgeable person when it comes to that, but is it mountain over molehill or vice versa? Like, which way do you see it in terms of them being all the media's just gone over the top? We're talking about one test, or we're going, no, these are scars and these are issues that are ongoing.
Yeah, I think behind the scenes, it's always about being level-headed. Obviously, the media are there to do their job, and they're to sell newspapers. They're to sell articles. They're to sell
newspapers don't exist anymore, mate. That's all online.
Well, when I go back to mum and dad's, they've somehow still got a newspaper. I think probably the only one in Australia. So.
And they're yellow now.
Yeah, and wrapped up in Glad wrap, aren't they? It's good for the environment too. So, but anyway, you know what I mean, Bob. They're trying to get sort of eyeballs on what they actually do, and that's the great thing about the Ashes. There's so many people that want to talk about it. So, the chat to have this much chat about cricket in Australia is incredible, regardless of what the story they're actually producing or what the narrative they're trying to create. To people talking about cricket and wanting to watch cricket and want to be a part of cricket, is that something that I think it's only a positive thing moving forward. When they come to the way they actually go about their business, they go a certain way, and do they need to rein it in sometimes? And yeah, definitely. I think that regardless of what you do in life, extremes are bad. So if you're going to extreme one way, it's not always going to work. And when it does, it's excellent, but it's not going to work a consistent amount of time. So it's just finding that balance right. And they have in the past, and they no doubt they will throughout this series as well, getting the balance between attack and actually getting through those hard situations and allowing them to again go and attack again. That this series is definitely not over. Yes, it's 1-0. Yes, it was done in 2 days. Yes, it's dire straits to everything, but they're a quality opposition with a great bowling attack. And I think, as you see, a lot of cricket games throughout Australia in history suggest that good bowling attacks win games of cricket. So can't wait for the next 4 tests, and hopefully they're as exciting as the last 2.
I love that answer because I totally agree. I think, we've just got to sleep on things sometimes as opposed to making that rash judgment straight away and look at the bigger picture and look at the picture over, the course of the whole series. And it's up to each side to look through the crucial moments and how they're going to combat it next time they're up to that. So thanks, mate. Last one for me. You've been amazing. Thank you. I know that you're working so hard out in the nets. I saw you with a bowling coach. You're literally standing there throwing a ball back to the bowlers. And I know you're under the pump doing that.
It's a hard job throwing it back, Bob. You got to get the trajectory right to make sure they don't have to move too far.
I've written a list of a few names, and I know you didn't play with all of them or maybe a few of them, but there's some of the overseas international players. We've got Warney, KP, Malinga. I've thrown Jimmy Faulkner in there just because he's a unit. Purin, Joe Clark, Harris Ralph, and Luke Wright. Who do you think would be like the probably standout or the pick of the? Maybe I'll give you 2 because I think Warney's just going to be up there in one of them. But give me a couple that you think just are Stars people.
Oh, Bob, this is probably the toughest.
It's not a right or wrong answer. This is just purely.
But...
do you know what I've forgotten? I got one more question to finish. Sorry.
Can I answer this one first?
Yeah, please.
Righto. Obviously, Warney, the king. But then sort of Luke Wright played for a long period of time. Is definitely a Stars favourite, hundreds and very successful his time. But then I think KP and Malinga, probably the 2 biggest names at that particular time, coming over and playing for the Stars. And the whole brand was created around the Melbourne Stars. And I think they fit into that narrative really nicely. So they're probably, with Warney, the 3 that you'd probably resonate with the Melbourne Stars, especially those early doors.
Love it. So when Gibbo organised this catch up, and on the email,
where's this going?
You
I don't know
emailed
where
and
going either.
you're like, "Hi Squid, looking forward to catching up with Bobby." And I just went, that happened really fast. You've been in this role with the Stars for about 2 seconds. You've done an amazing amount of work in those 2 seconds, but straight away it's Squid. I'm thinking, there's just no fear. So I obviously know, I've known you for Squid for over a decade now, but can you tell? Do you know how it eventuated?
No, I reckon I went Clint for the first day, and then it almost felt awkward because everyone was calling.
I hate calling him Clint.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So just before you tell your story, so Squid was I think you said it when people make nickname. Maybe it might have been Huss. Talk about nicknames and they abbreviate them or they take them to another level. And I remember calling him Callum. And like, why are you calling him Callum? It's like Callum Murray. Just something different. So I call him Kel more than Squid, but Squid's just the easy one. It's like a nice neutral territory. But enough about me, mate. How'd it come about?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm sure Rowdy can tell the story. But obviously, he knows after a day in. Meant a few words, Rowdy. He knows that one.
Correct.
No, Squid. Oh, didn't think it was going to stuck when it first came out, but we'll sit in the Gabba. And obviously, like I enjoy a beer, and everyone knows that, and probably didn't quite look after my skin folds well enough at this particular time in my career. So we're at lunch break. I think I had my shirt off trying to dry out because, as you know, Bob, gets real sweaty in Brisbane. So I was probably changing my shirt, trying to get a dry one and freshen up, ready to go again. And then Hodge in the background. We know Hodge sometimes switches off, sometimes he's on. We don't really know what Hodge is turning up.
No, we don't.
And this moment, Hodge he just piled off every bit of pineapple and didn't leave anyone for anyone else, as he usually does at the Gabba. And next minute he turns around and goes, "Hey, Squid!" With half a pineapple hanging out of his mouth. I'm like, what is going on here? And the next minute he goes, "Calling you Squid from now on." I'm like, "Mate, why Squid?"
What?
He goes, "Because you know what squids are like." I said, "No." He goes, "Mate, They got a really soft belly. And he started poking me in the belly and said, "You got a soft belly like a squid." And the next minute, the whole team's up in laughter and whatever else. And the next minute, it was Squid. And Squid hasn't left since.
Mate,
so thanks to Brad Hodge.
You are a resilient person, because I reckon for the next, rest of the season and next season, it was just Squid. And anytime, we'd all finish the day's play or the game, you'd disrobe to have a shower, or you'd hear someone in the background going, "Squid," but
And it was usually Bobby or Haystone.
no, I wouldn't do that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for your time. We think you're a Stars legend, even though it was 2/4 years at the club.
Memorable.
But what you're doing right now, the boys and the girls are in absolutely great hands with you, heading up as your T20 High Performance Manager, but also more importantly, as their bowling coaches as well. Because I know, speaking to you, it's not just the technique element, the strategy element. It's getting to know the people and making them better people just as much as it is better cricketers. So hopefully everyone that listened in and watched appreciated that. You are, as Huss said, one of the all-time great human beings. So thank you, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having us. Enjoyed it.